All right, we are on.
Okay. All right, I'll call this meeting to order. Ms. Bonnie, you would please take roll.
Trustee Knapp.
Here.
Trustee Ringel.
Here.
Trustee Faust.
Here.
We'll do Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we are here tonight. Can everybody hear me okay?
No.
Can you hear me now? It's hard, I can't be that close. We are here tonight to hear application number RCOD-23-03, 79 Parkway Plaza. And let's see, how the hearing will work is, first of all, we will have the applicant, we'll have our zoning officer provide their report, and then we'll have the applicant give their presentation, and then the trustees will ask questions, and then we'll open it up to public comment. So everyone here will be heard tonight and able to speak. Let's see, first, our court reporter is not here yet, so anyone wishing to speak, if you could please stand, and I'm going to swear you in. Is anyone here planning to speak? Do we need staff? Do we usually do staff? Or the applicant? Who is the applicant? Okay. Do you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And when you do come up to speak, just make sure you mention give your name and address, and mention if you were sworn in, please. Okay, so first we'll have Mr. Duffy give his report.
Thank you, Ms. Knapp. I can confirm that I was sworn in. We are here for a Route 23 Corridor Overlay District application, RCOD-23-03 for Parkway Plaza. The applicant and owner is Lurgan Investments, LLC. This is property located at 79 Parkway Drive. There are two parcels involved with a total acreage of approximately 5.806 acres. The current zoning is farm residential. The request is to pull down and apply the Route 23 Corridor Overlay District to the two parcels in question. The site is located west of Route 23 and south of Parkway Drive. The applicant is proposing to construct two buildings as part of this proposal, one of which would be a grocery store and restaurant, and one of which would be a multi-tenant retail building. The surrounding area to the north is an FR1 parcel, as well as another application of the Route 23 Corridor Overlay District in the Caliber Collision Auto Repair business. To the south is also FR1, farm residential and single-family homes. To the east is planned commercial district, auto business in Pickups Plus, and their currently vacant parcel just to the north of their existing building. And then to the west is also farm residential and existing residences in the Parkway neighborhood. For the Route 23 Corridor Overlay District, this development does fall under the commercial office sub-area of the overlay. Again, two separate buildings are proposed, and the applicant has stated that the uses will comply with those outlined under this sub-area of the RCOD. On the following page, you can see the aerial view with the two parcels highlighted in yellow. And then below that is the proposed development plan. You can see the two buildings there in the center of the two parcels shaded in orange. In terms of the details of the proposal, the development standards are as follows. For building setbacks, the building setbacks for the overlay district are 50-foot minimum building setback from US 23 and 75-foot maximum. The northernmost building would exceed that maximum setback, and so a divergence is requested for that maximum setback from US 23. It does exceed the minimum. Similarly, there's a 30-foot minimum building setback along both Parkway Drive and then South Parkway Drive on the north and west property lines against that right-of-way. There's also a 40-foot maximum. The applicant is proposing a setback of 68.5 feet for the northernmost building from Parkway Drive running east-west. There is a divergence requested that is for the divergence for the maximum setback from both Parkway Drive and South Parkway Drive. There's also a 15-foot minimum building setback along the eastern border of the property because those two parcels are zoned planned commercial. That is a 15-foot side building setback. To the west border, there is a 100-foot building setback along that border of the property that abuts an FR1 property. So there is a 100-foot building setback in a certain area of the site, essentially that southwestern portion. There's also a 100-foot building setback along the southern border of the property, again, because the properties to the south are zoned farm residential, which is a residential district. That triggers that 100-foot setback from those property lines. The total lot coverage is proposed to be at 69% of the overall site area, which does comply with the RCOD standards. That maximum is 80%, and they are underneath that maximum. The building to lot width ratio along Parkway Drive is approximately 36.6% of that frontage, which is not within the 40% to 70% range required by the code. So the applicant has requested a divergence from this standard. This is something that's unique to the Route 23 corridor overlay district, that the frontage of the building is supposed to be a certain percentage, between 40% and 70% of the frontage along the public roadway. It's supposed to be within that 40 to 70% range, and we believe they fall a little short of that, ergo they are requesting that divergence. They are also requesting a divergence from a requirement that all parking lots shall be located behind or to the side of the principal building. Parking is proposed to be located in front of the grocery store building along that Parkway Drive frontage, so they are asking for a divergence from that requirement. Most of the parking is to the side and to the rear, but they do have one bay of parking to the front of their building. A total of 176 parking spaces are proposed, which complies with the RCOD requirements based on the proposed uses of the building. There is both a minimum required parking and a maximum required parking. They are above the minimum and below the maximum. As for architectural elements, both buildings appear to comply with all the architectural standards of the overlay district. The primary building materials for the grocery store are listed as wood and stucco. And the primary building material for the proposed retail building is listed as brick, but we do believe they comply with all the architectural requirements. As for landscaping, there are a total of 29 blue spruce trees that are proposed to be planted, along with 15 eastern red cedar trees. These would function both as shade trees in the parking lot islands, as well as the required street trees along the right-of-way frontage, and would also form a buffer between this property and the residential properties that surround it. 178 shrubs are also proposed to be planted, which would provide the necessary buffering along parking lot lines, as well as areas that abut adjacent residential districts. Those shrubs are required to be a minimum of 3 feet in height, in theory to screen any headlights, and those are installed in the proper locations. For signage, the applicant is proposing 2 signs as part of this application. One building-mounted sign is proposed for the grocery store building, which would measure 16 feet and 9 inches by 5 feet. The sign does comply with all the signage standards of the overlay district. They're also proposing 1 freestanding monument sign in front of the grocery store building, which would be set back 20 feet from Parkway Drive right-of-way and would measure 8 feet in height. That does comply with the signage standards of the overlay. They are also required to install 50 feet of landscaping immediately adjacent to the monument sign, and that is shown on their landscape plans. As for access, they are proposing 1 entrance along Parkway Drive. As per RCOD requirements, they're showing a 10-foot multi-use path that would be installed along the US 23 frontage, and then a 5-foot sidewalk would be proposed to be installed along the Parkway Drive and South Parkway Drive frontage. And then following discussions with the Township and the Delaware County Engineer's Office, the applicant is showing a 30-foot access easement along the South Parkway Drive frontage, as well as cross-access easements in the southeast portion of the site in order to accommodate for future connectivity in that area. So in terms of divergences from the RCOD requirements, they're requesting 3 divergences from the standards. The first is for the maximum setback requirements. That's 75 feet from US 23 and 40 feet from both Parkway Drive and Parkway Drive South. So it's essentially 3 setback requirements that are packaged into 1 divergence request. The second is the building to lot width ratio. Again, that range is 40% to 70% per code. They are requesting to have a building to lot width ratio of 36.6%. And the third divergence is the parking lot placement, requesting to have parking in front of the grocery store building, whereas the code says the parking is supposed to be located to the side or to the rear. We did have a few other staff comments. Fencing on the site plan is shown. It was a little unclear if the fence detail on sheet CD 1.0 is referencing this fencing or fencing around the dumpster enclosure. So we would like confirmation that that is the fencing in that area. One thing that is still outstanding is that a copy of a letter from the engineer's office stating that the proposed access and site distance is adequate was not included. And then at time of writing of the staff report, we do not have a lighting plan that extends 30 feet onto neighboring properties as required per code. The lighting on the site itself does comply with our regulations, but the code wants us to show the lighting that would trespass on the neighboring properties to make sure that those levels are appropriate as well. That is all I have for now. I am on hand, and I believe the applicant is on hand if the board has any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And you said the applicant is here?
Yes.
Okay, can they come up and give a presentation?
Hello. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thanks.
I'm helping Revy out to help work with you guys on this, to help.
Can you state your name and address?
My name is
Thank you.
Todd Stankovitz. I live at 3965 Riverview Drive in Columbus, Ohio.
Could you speak into the mic? I'm
Oh.
not sure if we can hear you.
Sure. It's Todd
It's-
Stankovitz. I live at 3965 Riverview Drive in Columbus, Ohio. Yes, I've been.
Can the audience hear him okay? The audience can't hear him.
Okay.
It's a combination of speaking loudly and speaking close to the microphone.
Oh, okay. All right, no problem.
We're working on getting new mics,
Well,
taking some time.
Sure. All right, right now, Revy has submitted this, I think this is the third time coming through to you guys, and I guess we try to update everything. I'm kind of stepping in on the backside of this, trying to help Revy with his architect and his engineer to make everything required for you guys, what you guys need to make this work for the township and make this work over here. So I guess on the divergence that we're at, where are they at? In the 75-foot step back right now, with the building where it is, it's kind of hard to, with the layout, you're going to have a new building that will be in the future. Their plans are on put on the outside that will have a building at the 75-foot. So that will eventually be there. Right now they removed it because earlier on in your submittals, you guys didn't want a drive-through in there, which we eliminated the drive-through. And now they just pulled the building out. And that building will be there, so technically we would meet the requirements at that time period. And then the second one, the 40%, again, by taking out that first building, we did remove that 40%, which you would have more parking spot, and your parking ratio would be up to speed and would be at 40%. Right now, you're at 36, but the property to the left, actually, that would be to the Route 23 side. They still own that property there. That would be, if you would change it to that, can you change it to the other picture that shows the plot layout? C1 would be perfect. Okay, see, the property up front is still owned by they own the property up there. It's part of the whole parcel. It's part of the parcel number. So if we added parking spot or added the parking spots into that area, which we had at the original time when they pulled out because you didn't want the drive-through, that eliminated your 40%. So that 40% would be there and your 75-foot setback. So both those items would be met. for the requirements. And then with the third one, the parking lot. The placement, I mean, right now, the way the layout is, and it's a T-shaped property, to put the parking lot, I mean, that one, we're asking for help on that one, because there's no way to put parking back there. There's a building back behind there. You're having parking spots, which we eliminated some areas back there because of the 100-foot radius that we needed to have. So that one is just, we're asking us what we can do to, help us out on that, to help meet the requirements. That one is, the layout is impossible to do without it. Other than that, what was the variance on the fencing? They had an issue with the fencing, you said?
So I think the issue was it just wasn't clear to me what type of fencing
Oh,
was
okay.
along that.
And what type did you want to put in, what you're going to put in there?
Some screens, we added that, but we did update today morning, but, yeah.
Could you give your name and address, please, sir?
So my name is Ravi. I live at what is my address? 6826 McDougall Court, Dublin, Ohio.
Okay, and have you been sworn in?
Sorry.
Were you sworn in? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And Revy is the owner of the property. So I guess you were going to put some screens in, you put some additional, whatever was required by.
Required by this.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's pretty much what's the other one that they had? That's all? Okay. And that was pretty much the three divergence that we were trying to work with you guys on.
Okay. And what would the use of these buildings be?
The first one was going to be, they own a chain of these, it's Indian restaurants with bakery and a little bit of grocery inside. So it's a grocery kind of restaurant slash, it's more of a grocery store, and it has bakery, and then it has a little bit of restaurant inside of it. It's kind of like an all-inclusive type of scenario. I think you have, 7 of them?
Yes.
They own 7 of them throughout the United States, and they just want to, that would be the main focus of the one that's right there on Parkway. And then the back one will be like a common small retail scenario, like nail salons, type of, a GameStop or whatever, type of smaller, retail, whatever tenants that they will be able to get is in the backside, on that back building.
What kind of uses do you anticipate for the retail?
Like I said, like nail salon.
Just the usual stuff?
The usual small stuff, yeah. Not anything, yeah.
How many retail establishments do you anticipate having?
You probably could have 4 in there. I think there'd be 4 would be your best bet. I mean, if you get some little bit larger tenants, I think we can knock it down to 3 or 2, but it's mostly going to be, the maximum will be 4.
Okay. I think we'll just go
Ask
one
questions.
at a time, and that
Mhm.
way I
Yep.
don't ask all the questions, and then you guys have nothing left to say. Let's see here. So we looked at the plan, and there's they show that future building pad on here.
Yes, the one up front.
Okay, and we would like to ask that be removed entirely from the plan, any reference to it, because in order to build that, you'll have to come back later and request a plan amendment because it hasn't been specified.
We could do that, yeah.
So
no
remove
problem.
all references to it.
No, it's no problem.
Okay. And I'll just ask one more, but, so where do you anticipate, how much traffic do you think is going to be coming from 23 versus coming up through Parkway?
I think majority of it will be coming off of 23. I think that's even what, I think you have a study,
Yes.
they have an ODOT study going on right now, and I think the majority of it will be a right in, right out.
Off of 23, okay.
Correct.
Or that's full access now, isn't it?
It's full access now,
Parkway?
yes, correct.
Okay. And what about construction traffic? There will be a lot of construction vehicles,
All of
correct?
it will be coming off of 23.
All of it?
We don't want to go off of that back road.
Okay. All right, want to ask you a question?
Can I have a follow-up to that construction traffic? So when Caliber Collision was built early '22, right across the street from your property, I think that owner also anticipated construction coming off 23, but what the residents actually experienced was a lot of the traffic was coming through their development. And it's, you know, the contractor just hires truckers and they just plug in the best way. So how would you do your best to keep construction traffic off of those residential streets?
I mean, it's going to be a tricky scenario. We will tell the guys, and we will put it in the instructions, and we can put it in for the construction of the project, and we will require them that they have to go and turn out onto 23. I mean, without putting, threatening people or doing something like that, we can't tell, hopefully we will not have the guys go that route. And I don't see them the reason for them to go back that way anyways for most of the traffic. I understand it might have happened in the past, but again, I can't speak for that, what happened there, for what's going to happen in the future.
Right, I understand that. And so if they do, say there's one, occasionally some trucks that go through the community, and I know it's about a 1.5 lane road. It's not really, you can't pass two cars
No,
on
it's
that,
tough
and definitely
on those
not
roads, yeah.
trucks, right?
Correct.
So I know, again, this is the previous experience, is that occasionally trucks would go into the front yards so as not to hit the other car, right, which we appreciate that. So just to clarify that you guys would be responsible for repairing any yards or any ruts and
Yeah, if there's
that.
some of the damage.
Yeah.
If it's one of the gentlemen that was out there, and we can make the contractor put it in, the liability of that,
Okay.
correct?
Yeah.
Have to be
So,
investigation.
and one thing I was going to mention it later, but some of us are considering requesting that parkway be barricaded and there be no access to that neighborhood.
Oh, that's not, only thing you have to talk with Caliber Collision.
Would there be
Yeah.
any objection to that from
No,
your
that's
business?
no objection at all.
Because if you're saying that there won't be much traffic at all coming from there, that way we could, if we're able to do it, we could protect the residential,
Right, we
the
could-
residents behind you.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Put a barricade somehow in there so that they only know to go around it, and yeah, we can.
Just so
prevent that.
all the access could be, if we can work it out from 23.
That's an easy fix,
Okay,
yes.
okay, great.
And that's for the community to be aware. That's something that we have to figure out with the county engineer's office, and the contractor's not able to just block the road, right? That's not
It's a
something,
process.
right, it's a whole process.
Right,
So,
we wouldn't block the
yeah,
whole world, yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I said we could.
We can work on it, yeah.
right, yeah.
I have a few confirmation statements that are maybe more for staff, but just to confirm, this project, as being an overlay application, will be required to go into our joint economic development district, which is going to levy an income tax on those businesses in that area. Okay.
Yeah, do we have a letter, did you say, to that effect?
I believe we do.
We do have a letter? Okay.
Okay. I know some residents have reached out with concerns about some of the utility letters that have been received for this project, just because it's been sitting on the table for a little bit. But just to confirm, before the township would issue any building permits, those utility approvals would need to be renewed and authorized before we would issue permits.
We check that at the time of zoning permitting, and also the building department will check that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're talking about where it said offices as one of the uses instead of retail and.
Though I believe the
expired.
letter from Delco has a 1-year expiration, so I think it expires at the
Okay.
December 8th.
beginning of December.
And
so-
one of them, I think a resident mentioned that, one of them, was it Delco? One of them, yeah, it was Delco. It referenced, I think it was Delco, referenced offices rather than retail or restaurants, which would have a more intensive use. And Robin confirmed that you guys would have to make sure that that was updated before you got the zoning permits.
I've got 3 more
Go
questions
ahead.
unless
Yeah, you're good.
you want to go back and forth. So, question about landscaping, so on the eastern side of the development, Michelle, would you mind going back to C1? It seems that there is currently on the development plan, if I'm reading it correctly, a plan for a 5-foot fence that would go on the southeastern portion. It would kind of border the southeastern parcel there, but that fence does not continue up where you see a 5-foot sidewalk going around, along the eastern portion that's connected to, or contiguous with South Parkway Drive. I believe there's currently some trees along that area. Can you talk more about why there's not also a 5-foot fence, or if you have plans for additional foliage to keep that eastern side of the parcel screened as well?
Yeah, we can add more trees or more.
What would you guys prefer in there, more trees or more fencing? What would you guys, we could add more trees through there.
Can I take on a different path? Sure. Okay, so I appreciated you guys putting in the 30-foot easement along that western edge of the property, and then also widening that road to the east side of the buildings that are shown here for possible future either road widenings or, north-south connectors. So thank you for working with us and doing that. Specific to that western edge, as I was looking at this today, what do you think about removing those 16 spots that are along the western edge of the property? It would still leave you above the minimum number of parking required, keeping that natural there. There's about 7 feet it's in the right of way, but it's, trees, and it's not super fancy, but it's a natural barrier that exists right now. Rather than tearing that down and putting in a new barrier that takes a while to grow, what do you think about leaving that there? And again, I would need head nods from the residents this is something you want, this is my idea, I could be wrong, to be able to, keep on that west side, removing those 16 spots, so your development would be, 20 feet less wide, I guess.
Okay.
Or these over here he's talking about.
I'm sorry,
So
I was
we
talking
all-
about the western edge with my
So
comments.
those
Yeah, that's where I am
parking.
too. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So those parking lots have been removed already. I had a talk with the architect
Okay.
to remove that parking spots over there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we just updated today morning,
Okay.
removing that parking spots there.
Okay.
And
So you are gonna, those are already gonna be removed?
Correct.
Okay.
yes,
Okay, so that way you wouldn't have any headlights going directly into the residence across, you'll have the rear lights or whatever,
So
but,
that would
okay.
be-
And as far as that, clarifying the fencing, so is it a privacy fence that's wooden that I see all the way, or is it a wrought iron fence that's more for keeping, children out of the property? Like, is it a privacy or a safety? Privacy,
yeah, it's a
okay,
privacy one.
okay. And so that would go, it's the Baza property, is that?
Yeah, Baza
Okay,
property,
Baza
yes.
property. So it would go all along their property, but then would you continue it along South Parkway? Right now, it's not shown along South Parkway.
Yes.
On
we
the
can-
inside, so on the eastern side of the existing trees that are there. So the residents are going to have existing trees, about 7 to 8 feet of existing trees, and then inside your property line, there would be a privacy fence. Okay, and then inside.
We'll do that, yeah.
Yeah, it-
Residents, is that something that would be helpful? Yeah, yeah. So it's on that left side there. So that gray there is the 30-foot easement. And again, that is for a potential road widening in the way future, right? The county engineer we don't know what they're going to do yet because when you look at the 23 Connects study work that has been put out to the community, there's a potential north-south connector from Pacer Drive that's right behind Children's all the way going down to Orange. That road doesn't exist right now. So that's why we asked them to give us some, as we're in this stage of this process right now, let's try and think a little bit more forward thinking so that if that road needs to come in, then there's space for it. So the road could be with that 30 feet on the west side. I will do my darndest to push that it's within the property that's the 30 feet to the east of these existing buildings. And I measured some roads, so Parkway, North Parkway is 17 and a half feet wide, so it's almost, the 30 feet within the more eastern option is, I don't know if Michelle can draw where we're going. It's almost as wide as Gooding. Gooding's about 37 feet wide. 36 feet wide, which actually does have a turn lane in the middle, so it's not as wide as Gooding. Now, it will feel different than a Gooding because there are parking spots off of it in front of the retail space. So it's not going to feel like a road, like we think of roads. But it is a road that can have multi-lanes of traffic, you know.
There's also the potential that the county, rather than going down South Parkway, would curve a little bit further to the east and go along Pickups Plus.
Right. And that's my preference. Yes, thank you. Yes. Yeah, right, right.
Yeah,
So
it
that's a
wouldn't-
possibility, but then there's also one that comes through this property.
The road could come?
Could come through
Yeah,
this
to the
property.
east. So are you saying it could go through the Parkway, or is it North Parkway?
And tie back into Orange.
Here. This one would tie back into Pickups Plus.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to confirm as well.
Yeah,
So
nothing is set in stone, though.
we have two easements presented on the plan, correct? One on the western portion, and then
Correct.
there's one that will come from the entranceway down to the southeast corner?
Correct.
Okay.
Michelle, do you want to show, are you drawing that other one? Okay. It's sort of visible if we look at C1, but this is a better overall thing. If you, those to the right, if you scroll to the right, see where that shaded path is?
Yeah, the
that-
dark gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. And
That
that
is
goes the
also an
whole
easement.
length of the property and could tie
If you
into
pull it
the
up, it shows, yeah,
parking lot of Pickups Plus that's like behind their building right now.
correct.
So those are our road options. Again, if the county / ODOT puts in a backer road to keep,
Yeah, we had
You
a
know.
meeting with them, and they
Okay.
wanted, that's what their game plan is.
to have something there,
Yeah,
yeah.
their game plan is to go all
Yeah.
the way down to.
Right.
They go to Orange, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but not cutting through the residential streets, a separate road?
Separate road,
Right?
no, no, yeah, if you pull that back up, I can, at the bottom, it kind of shows where we offset it a little bit at the bottom of the bottom of the T.
Right,
No, it's okay.
on the east side
Oh, for
there.
heaven's sakes.
This one here?
Yeah,
There you
we
go. Can you zoom out,
At the
Michelle?
bottom, yeah, zoom out at the bottom of that T.
That little jog.
Love computers.
Yes. You see where it comes down where it ties, yeah, right in there, and then it goes down, yeah, to the right, and then it goes down over, that would be going to Orange is what they wanted.
Okay,
The county asked for that.
good, good. Did they say if it was just a right in, right out onto Orange?
No, that would not, because
Full
that would be the
access?
same as, it would be the same as, no, it'd be the same as Sheets, because it would be parallel with Sheets then.
Okay.
They
Okay.
want it to be parallel with
Okay,
Sheets.
good, good, good. All right.
Okay. Mike, did you have more questions?
The last question at the moment that I had was related to water runoff. So you're putting in a lot of pavement where there's currently grass. I see that there's a detention pond planned in the southwestern corner of the development.
Correct,
Will all of the water flow towards that detention pond?
yes,
On the entire site,
entire site, yes. That's what it's
including
designed for.
that future spot that we're going to pull out when you design it, that northeast corner?
Correct, everything
Okay.
flows that way.
Okay.
That's what the design is for. Well, actually, some of it goes to the front, to the already existing
Along 23?
along 23.
Okay.
And that's why we did the easement with Pickup Trucks Plus, that they are tying into the people on the corner property. There is actually an existing, which we talked to the county already, and there's an existing waterway that's already there that we're tying back down into. And then our storm line off of your detention pond, it's mainly just a detention, so it's going to detain the water, and the water is going to flow out
Okay.
onto that existing, which is the one that ties behind Sheets and that.
And just to clarify, a detention pond is dry sometimes and sometimes wet, or is it always look like a pond? Like, can
Well, the
my
way this
son
is
go
gonna have
fishing
water,
in a detention
It's
pond?
going to have water because it has the piping system is up higher off the.
Okay.
There is going to be water stored.
So there is some water, so
There
we'll
will be
always have some water.
Detained in it,
Okay.
yes.
That's all the questions I had at the moment.
Okay.
So a resident mentioned that the page labeled C1 includes a drive-through fast food restaurant in the description of the project.
That one was eliminated.
Is it eliminating the new plan?
Yeah.
It is, it's
Yep.
gone? Okay.
Yep.
And Regarding the supermarket and the retail uses, I would like to see the NAICS industrial codes included in here for the specific uses that will be permitted under retail, and it will specify exactly what a supermarket is, so everyone's on the same page as to what this can actually be used for in the future. And I think our attorney has brought a list of codes that we can discuss later and whittle that down and incorporate that in here. And that way, there won't be any surprises in the future for what a supermarket is and what retail is and things like that. Let's see here. And you are aware that you have 5 years to plat this project, and if it hasn't been platted by then your development plan will expire, and you'll have to come back in.
Yes,
Is that
we know.
correct? Okay, when do you anticipate beginning construction and completion of construction?
We should have done yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting for you guys.
Okay, you're in a hurry, okay.
No,
I just want.
it is right away. We want to get in as soon
You
as
want to get in,
possible.
because, I mean, we've had some situations recently where someone will start developing a project and then run out of money or run into an issue, and then it just sits there vacant, looking really, kind of hideous, and
Correct. Like I said, they have 7 of these supermarkets in other states.
So you have lots of
and
experience
They want this.
building, you
they
know
want
what to-
this pretty
okay.
bad, yes.
okay, because we just want to make sure it doesn't just everything gets bulldozed and just sits there, so.
No.
Okay,
I
good.
agree.
Right,
I
we don't
want
need that,
that.
especially with the residents nearby.
It's an eyesore.
And, let's see here, I think, do you guys have any more questions?
I have a couple. Can you confirm the square footage of the retail building? Because on sheet C-1.0, if you look at the drawing, it says that it's 13,160 square feet, but when you look at the lot coverage calculations, it shows it as 14,450.
I believe it's the 13,000 to be, I need to verify that, but that's the one I was informed it was the 13,000, so.
Yeah, so basically, to accommodate that easement, we require to change our little bit building here and there. There are a couple of feet here and there, but we'll confirm with the architect exact.
Okay.
Yeah, we get that.
Okay.
And, so you said 13,160 is the correct amount? So you
I believe
will
that's-
change that as a
that's
condition?
correct.
Okay. And you did say there's going to be a fence around the pond. Were we talking about a fence or just a
Well, there's a
buffer?
fence around, from what he's
The
saying.
west of the pond.
The west of the
The
pond.
west?
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
just
there's
around the
I mean,
west.
there's a fence, the existing Boza property has a pond on it as well, so there's already a pond in the community. So,
So can people access the pond from Parkway if that fence is there? Like kids?
I don't think they could.
I mean, if they
If they
came
go
off of,
around,
if they came off
they could come up
of
and
Parkway,
around.
not
Parkway,
South
okay.
Parkway.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
but,
Any more questions?
will you do a traffic study?
We have it in the works.
Okay,
We already submitted with the ODOT. They are
Okay.
reviewing and they gave a few comments.
Okay.
And the traffic study company is addressing those.
okay. Do you anticipate, this is just my curiosity, having to do anything to Parkway Drive, as that's not a very wide road also?
I think they did a study including Parkway Drive as well as the 23
Okay.
in that report.
So if they find that there's improvements needed to be
In the
made, that would be
recommendation,
within your
yes.
construction cost and your
Yes.
project to do that, okay. Okay, so if we look at sheet C 1.2, Michelle, which is the kind of elevations with lot width. So when we added, and I think this is just something that got missed, but when we modified those drive aisles from 24 feet to 30 feet, excuse me, it still shows on this elevation plan that they're 24 feet. So just wanted to make sure everybody runs the numbers one time. I was kind of wondering where the 6 feet came. I appreciate the 6 feet, but where did it come from?
Is that correct? Okay.
So it's detail, basically the top one and the detail 1 and detail 3. It shows the driveway to the right of the, that's the retail building. In detail 1, it still shows that as 24 feet. And this is just, it shows us the whole width of the whole.
Correct.
Yeah. And then also in detail 3,
That's why I think you shrunk the building.
to the left of the grocery. I just would appreciate clarification that
Yeah, we can
we
make sure
didn't
that-
just
that-
like,
we could do
that
that.
it still all fits,
We-
right?
we will
yeah.
get that
We want it
fixed.
to fit, yes.
Yes.
The other, again, this is just very detailed, sheet, the landscaping plan versus E 5.1, which is our lighting plan. There's 3 light poles that are shown on the lighting plan that are not shown on the landscaping plan, which I know the lighting plan trumps the landscaping plan when you're, installing light fixtures. So just to be aware of that. The monument sign, am I correct in thinking there's only one?
Yes.
Okay, and that would, so that would list the grocery store and the retail, and all the signage would be on that? Okay, thank you. And then I did hear from one of the residents that there was a change in ownership of the Boza property. Is that impact, did that happen? Does that impact this at all? That we can speak to, or maybe not?
Sorry, come again.
So the property that's right in, this property here,
Oh, okay.
is that owned by you guys at this point, or is that still owned by them, or?
It is still with the Boza.
Okay.
We are working on that.
Okay, and so if you do finalize that sale and that purchase, does that impact anything that we're doing here?
It
No.
doesn't impact anything.
Okay. I think those are all the questions that I had at this time.
Okay, I'll open it up to comments from the public. So you guys can go ahead and have a seat, and we'll have people come up and ask questions, and then we'll probably answer all of the questions it's when we're done with public comment, okay?
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. And the applicant will answer the questions. You guys will ask us, then the applicant will answer the questions. So we'll all take notes to make sure that everybody's questions get addressed.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that wishes to give a comment or question? Just come up and give your name and address, please.
And state whether you've been sworn in.
David
yeah,
Weaver,
state whether you've
340
been
North
sworn.
Parkway. So I live actually furthest away from this area within that stop, but.
Were
with
you
that being
sworn, were
said-
you sworn in, sir?
Yes, I was
Yes?
sworn in,
Okay.
yes. With that said, I have basically 5 quick comments, and I won't take too much time because there's people much smarter than me doing this. But the entrance on 23 is already deteriorated tremendously. There's no way that this could go in without something being done there. When you pull out the entrance on 23, and I can send you guys pictures, both sides are tore up. When someone's pulling in to 23 on Parkway Drive, sometimes you can't turn in. So you're on 23 trying to turn into Parkway Drive, but because it's so tore up on the right side, people are parked over into the middle, so you're on 23 trying to pull into Parkway Drive into our residential area. It's already unsafe for what we currently have for our little neighborhood. How you can justify putting an additional commercial property in there. So, which leads you to the question that was brought up before. Ultimately, people, they currently, even for Caliber Collision now, are still using Orange Avenue off Orange Road. The same conditions exist there, and I can send you guys all pictures of it. I took pictures of it. The roads on the both sides of it are completely tore up. When you're turning off Orange Road onto Orange Avenue, there's times that you can't turn right. There's times you can't pull out because the roads are that tore up. And these roads are older and maybe 1.5 length in the entire residential area. To add commercial traffic to where a lot of these people, I'm older, my kids are gone, so I feel good that I'm not worried about my kids other than my grandkids are over walking around that oval. But we've all enjoyed that for a long time. And you're going to tell me you're going to bring commercial activity into Orange Avenue onto South Parkway, because that's what's going to happen. That's already happening now with Caliber Collision. Even the big trucks are coming in still from a Caliber Collision that way. And then they're parking on Parkway Drive, and that makes it even worse because they're unloading vehicles and loading vehicles off Parkway Drive, and so you're already taking up Parkway Drive. So that was item 2.
What do you mean the condition? You mean just the surface, or?
The surface it's gone. It's been
The
tore up
surface
from
is-
the big trucks coming in and tearing up. I think it's supposed, I forget what they say, it's supposed to be like 30 feet or something wide in there. I don't know exactly what the roads are supposed to be, but I'm sure they've lost 20% of the roads on both sides. That's how much it's been tore up.
It looks like there's some, I'm looking at Google Maps, there's some potholes and areas
Yeah,
that fill
massive.
with water.
And the road, it's broken up. The road is broken up. You can't turn in safely at certain times. And 23, the traffic on 23, we're talking about ODOT study. If the ODOT study really comes back the way it's supposed to come back, there's no way they're going to allow entrance from 23 into Parkway. I'm sorry, I've been, it's just not going to happen. And having a daughter who basically got critically injured pulling out of there at one time, a number of years ago, that was when the roads were much better and not as congested. And then you had alluded to Pacer Drive. I still haven't figured out how that works, because when they put Caliber Collision in there, that was supposed to be where Pacer Drive was coming through. So we're talking about futures, what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. We can say all we want about how we're going to do that here today. That's not how it's going to happen. We can say today that's what's going to happen. I've been too much involved with government to know that road is going to connect to the Parkways drives, north and south. I'm telling you now, mark my word, Pacer Drive is not going to have its own road. It's going to connect to the loop of Parkway. So again, you're adding commercial traffic to a residential area where people walk with their kids, their dogs, and everything else. So I think that was pretty much it. I'm getting older and I should leave my glasses on. I apologize. Pacer Drive, commercial traffic. I think that's pretty much it. I appreciate you listening to me. But again, when the commercial, I know what it was. I don't know what hours the establishment is for these operations. I mean, has that been addressed? Are we going to have 24-hour operations in some of these buildings in theoretically a residential area? I realize the overlay. I'm really familiar with the 23 overlay and what's going on. But you're now going to tell me you're going to put commercial activity abated to a residential area, and are you going to, some of these stores going to be open 24 hours? I don't know. They're going to be open on the weekend. That's the one thing that does make Caliber Collision a nice customer. They're not open after 5. So that makes it a lot easier. And then my last comment, which I told my wife I would behave, so I will still behave. With all these kids and everyone walking around here, the day that one of those commercial people come through, take out one of these young kids because they're on their bikes, they're walking, you guys will be responsible for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doyle Hartman, 150 South Parkway Drive, and yes, I was sworn in. First of all, I'd like to just say thanks to the township for really publicizing this event tonight. I know you went beyond what you really needed to do, and really appreciate it. It's very much appreciated. And I also want to make a sincere welcome to the developer into our neighborhood. We welcome you, but we want you to be good neighbors, and we hope we can be good neighbors to you as well. I'm serious about that, yeah. I live just immediately west of where you're going in. So your development's going to impact my wife and me probably more than anybody else. But I do welcome you. I know that you're going to provide an asset to our Asian friends, particularly our Indian friends in our community, and I'm sure they're looking forward to having you come on in. But if you hear any kind of anger tonight, I think underlying all that anger is what Dave just explained. It's a lot of sadness because we're sad about the potential of losing the neighborhood that we've enjoyed.
Can you adjust your comments to the board?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Anyways, if you hear, I think, anger, it's going to be basically rooted on sadness. Potential for losing the lifestyle that we've come to enjoy. It was platted 70 years ago, and it's been in the neighborhood for a long time. So I I have always had three different concerns, and it's been drainage, screening, and traffic. And you're going to hear traffic a lot. But I was glad, and I talked to Delaware County myself, and the gentleman here tonight already talked about this. From my understanding is all the drainage will be going to the south or to the east and not into to the west into our subdivision. So we really appreciate people working with that. In terms of screening, like I said, I live immediately west of this, and so we're going to be impacted by the visuals as much as anybody. But I know we'd be asking beyond the call of duty, but one thing that has always been in the back of my mind is when Meijer and Home Depot went in 30 years ago, about the township and the developer worked together to put a real nice mound in there to separate an existing subdivision from a proposed retail and grocery store. We would really appreciate something like that as well here. Something more than just a 5-foot fence or 3-foot high shrubs, but something more substantial that would really provide visual screening as well as noise screening. Like Dave just mentioned, we don't know if this is going to be closing at 10 o'clock, the facility, 9 o'clock, when, all night, and if we'd have traffic in the parking lot and everything right next door to us, we would really appreciate if there would be some screening. I know we'd have to ask for you all to go beyond, like I say, the call of duty, but we would really appreciate that. And then regarding traffic, again, we're all very much concerned. We appreciate you guys being willing to consider blocking off Parkway, and it's good to hear the developer say that they would be amenable to that. My concern is, though, that anything like that is not totally irreversible. At somebody's whim in the future, different trustees, different situation, the barricades could come out and the traffic would flow again. So I appreciate what you're doing in terms of setting aside easements, setting aside access and all that. And I would just really push for it. I'm not quite sure how it's going to tie in with the easement that was put to the west of the Caliber Collegian property, where Pacer Drive was to be extended on down from the north on through there, and how that would tie into what you've already got proposed. But in all the plans, I would just say, make sure we have an option to continue Pacer Drive on through, because the Parkway is barricaded and then pulled eventually, and it's unbarricaded. There's going to be traffic.
No, it would be a permanent vacation.
It would be
permanent, yes.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
If it's able to be done.
Yeah, and people have already mentioned about ODOT and the plans for the Connect, Route 23 Connect, and how that's going to impact everything. Again, I just think that all needs to be taken into account. And one last comment, I guess, is, I did talk with the Boses, or communicate with them today, and I know that they did sign a letter or a contract with the developer, and I'm still not quite clear how that purchase would not impact this development. So I would appreciate if the developer can maybe speak to that a little bit more at some point, how that would impact this development and et cetera. So that's it.
Thank you. And just to be clear, we have not, as far as vacating part of Parkway, that's not finalized, that's not a done deal. We've had a conversation, but it's not.
Yeah, I think they're all aware that we haven't done anything.
Right,
We have
nothing
to
is-
wait for this, yeah. But
Right.
if it were to be granted by the county, then it would be permanent. We wouldn't be able to take out the barriers, so it's a process.
But it would be
though.
something that somebody has to take responsibility for the part of the road that
Well,
the
we don't have to
township,
go into all
right.
those details.
There's a lot of things that
There's
have
a
to be
lot,
figured
yeah.
out,
We don't
so.
have to go into details,
but yeah.
Is there anyone else or do you have anything else, Mr. Hartman?
I think that's it. You'll hear more from people, but I think it's going to be kind of going around in circles, but it's traffic and screening, very important to us. And like I said, like everybody's going to be mentioned, it's protecting our lifestyle, the safety of our children, and when you got 8-foot lanes instead of the conventional 12, there's just not a lot of room to move when two vehicles meet. So appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Well, do you want to answer real quick? Gotcha.
Hi, John Stoner, 400 West Orange Road.
Were you sworn in? Were you
Yes, I
sworn in?
was.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, thanks for everybody, it seems like you've read up on it and studied it and everything. Couldn't hear, would the barricade be permanent?
If it was granted, and it's a process
I
that,
understand there's a lot of work to be done
It's the
there,
intention.
But
Yeah.
it'd be a great thing.
it would be permanent, but
Be a great
there's quite a
thing.
few hoops, and it's ultimately not even entirely up to us, so.
But if we had to plan for it not being there,
I think we should plan for it not being there until we can
Right.
say it's there.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
probably talks are in the very
Yeah.
beginning. How would you keep the people safe that are walking on West Orange Avenue, South Parkway? Are there calming devices going to be put in? Is it going to be widened? Are there sidewalks?
Unfortunately, there's not a
There's
lot. that-
5-foot sidewalk proposed along the western portion, but it doesn't continue further into
It'd
the
just be
the
that small
subdivision.
area where the parking spaces are coming out. I
Yeah,
would
there's
say.
not a lot that we could really do there, and so I think it would be best to just try to barricade. And there's not a lot of solutions other than like a freeway ramp over your neighborhood to Orange Road.
Yeah.
I can't think of much
Isolate us
else.
completely.
Yeah.
But we've also worked with other HOAs in the community to put in flashing traffic calming signs. So there are some options that we can partner with the neighborhood about, but that's not part of this particular development.
Gotcha. The traffic study that's being done, is that going to include traffic that would be proposed to come onto the Parkway and Orange Avenue? It sounded like it was only traffic on 23 coming in.
I think it would
Want
be
to make sure that it
Parkway as well,
encompasses the
yeah.
whole system,
Yeah, it'll be
because we
Parkway.
know people are going to cut through. We know.
Yep.
It's a given, no matter what they say. I think that was about it. But if we had to plan for not having the barricade permanent, will people be able to turn left going out of Parkway on the 23? And how will that be accommodated? Because I leave there at 5 a.m. every morning. I have to wait. So during the day, there's no way people will get out.
What do you mean? What are you saying? I'm sorry.
Turning north off of
So
Would
Parkway.
that
if you're at the market and you want to go out to 23, right now you can turn left or right.
Yeah.
So if you have to turn left, you have to turn across 3 lanes of traffic. You're not going to be able to do that during the day. 160 parking lots, I don't know how many people will be in the market at one time, but it seems like quite a few cars to me, more than sheets.
They'll have to turn right probably and go
Well, you'd
down
think
south
so,
and go
but,
north.
Nobody's going to be turning right to go down to Orange Road and go down to 315. They're going to cut through the neighborhood, go down Orange Avenue.
Yeah, that's the
and
problem.
Orange
That's the
Road.
problem, right, exactly.
So, no, I wouldn't do that. So I know nobody else is going to do it. So I don't know, how is that resolved? Is that a ODOT thing or is that a township thing?
If we did vacate part of the road and put up safety bollards along the end of Parkway, then you would not be able to get from South or North Parkway to Parkway. And I think ODOT is looking at reducing left turns onto US 23, so it would likely become a right in, right out. And then the potential would be to extend Pacer Drive in some fashion to provide for an ulterior.
Yeah, along with
Form
the
of-
ODOT corridor.
Correct.
Mhm, Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Just, yeah.
Christine Hartman, 150 South Parkway Drive, Delaware, Ohio.
Were you
And
sworn
I just
in?
want to thank,
Ma'am,
and
were
I
you
was
sworn-
sworn in,
You were,
yes.
thanks.
Thank you, Erica, for telling us that the developers are in contract with the Boza property.
Well, I didn't know that. Your husband told us that, told me that.
Doyle just said it in public.
Not sure what just happened, but, okay, I'm next. Jim Srigliano, I live at 8480 Stonewoods Lane, and yes, I've been sworn in. And I'm of the opinion that if the access road from Children's Hospital through to Sheets were done first, a lot of this traffic issue will go away. So I'm respectfully requesting that the board not approve this project until they get the approval from Mr. Bowser, I think it is, to do the access road first. That way their construction vehicles can use it, customers can use it, and they can block off that 23 road at 23 and not where the residents need to use it. So that's my opinion.
That would be ideal, I just don't know that we can.
I don't think legally we couldn't, because that might be 2 or 3 years down the road, and then we'd be prohibiting them from developing, and I don't think we could do that. And we aren't going to be building that extension, that would be the county,
I
the Pacer
understand that.
Road.
That's what I'm
so.
saying. You, as trustees who have some authority in the township, work with the Delaware County Engineer's Office to push this through.
We've tried. They're,
Yeah, we
They have a
would
lot
love
of
to have
projects.
the cart behind the horse, but it's unfortunately not our cart or our horse, so.
That's
yeah.
exactly what I'm
But
saying.
you're also welcome to talk to the county engineer.
Yeah, that'd
He's
be
also
great.
an elected official.
He doesn't like me very much, so I'm not going to be talking to him. So anyway,
Yeah.
But
that's
we do
my
note
request,
your
whatever.
request and your comment, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad they are working on something. Before, they were planning to go through the neighborhood to use that, what is it? North Parkway Drive. They were actually planning to cut through there, and that's just completely unacceptable.
Right.
So it looks like now that they're requesting an easement, they've changed their mind on that. So to cut through the neighborhood with commercial traffic would
Oh,
be
be awful.
outrageous.
Yeah,
Yeah, though we would have no control over it, but other than, just pressure.
That being said, we have not heard that directly from the county engineer, we just heard that this evening.
Yeah, we
so-
heard that. We've
Oh, you
heard
did?
that from the county engineer. Yeah, that was
Okay.
from county engineer representatives. As a rumor from that, and I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, again, my concern is more with people turning left from 23 onto, into this new thing. I mean, that's a death trap anyway. I mean,
It is.
23 is just
Yeah.
unbelievable,
I know.
and it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
So,
All
anyway.
right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Musa Purba, 90 Parkway Drive, and yes, I've been sworn in. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for putting this together.
I'm sorry, what's your address again?
90 Parkway Drive. So regarding Parkway Drive, I mean, from 23, getting left or right, there's already potholes because of the tow trucks, driving in. And my self-experience, there are times like in the morning or late in the afternoon, I cannot go in and out because there'll be like 3 tow trucks blocking the ways. And my road, on my side, it's already been damaged. With Coalition also, I'm still disappointed. They promised me everything's going to be stay green. My backyard, they pull out some trees out of my backyard, and I've been planted back again. They just throw some grass seed and just left it like that. So I don't know what I'm supposed to expect from them.
Was that Caliber who did
However,
that?
yeah. I asked them to regrow my trees because they plucked 3 or 4 of them out, and they said, yeah, we will take care of it. But they were just throwing like grass seeds. And until now, it's still like, it looks ugly. So, and if they're gonna, I'm not the architect, I don't know anything about being an engineer, but if they're gonna have traffic at Parkway, then most likely they're gonna be headbanging with Coalition because those trucks come anytime. And with Coalition also, I never need an alarm clock in the morning because every 7 o'clock in the morning, I hear loud banging because they empty the trash. So if they're going to say they're going to have a time on closing time, it would be nice because I used to work in a restaurant too. If we close at 10, basically business could be done by 11. So what exactly is going to be our quiet time in the neighborhood then? So that's one thing. So I really appreciate if they can keep my trees alive and grow more trees so I don't see them. That's my take. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name's Kirsten Jones. I'm at 251 South Parkway Drive, and I got here late, so you can swear me in.
Do you want to swear.
Do you want, are you able to swear her in? I did some swearing in earlier, but you're the professional.
Yeah.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Okay. So a lot of my other concerns have been addressed by my neighbors. So I wanted to go back to the retention pond and the drowning risk. I did email Robin earlier. But I've lived in our neighborhood for about 7 years, and I've taken many walks with my husband, dogs, and now our 2 young children who are 2 and 4.5. And I can honestly say that while I know definitively it exists, I have never seen the Bose's Pond. I have zero intentions of telling my children it exists, and I would love, actually, to be honest, to see a full fence around that too. So I guess I would question, if any of us were to put in an in-ground pool, even like adjacent to the property, what kind of requirements would we have, and why can we not uphold the same standards for a retention pond, which I just looked up. I think if you Google just retention pond accidents in Columbus alone, you will see many drownings, fatal and non-fatal, or car accidents. So I'm not just thinking of like my own children and my neighbors' children, but children of like potential customers of the establishment. Like it's an intriguing thing. So why not go above and beyond the code to provide some sort of barrier? And then I guess I would want to know, like, how likely is it that, I know it's a process, but just how likely is it that the neighborhood would be cut off?
We have no idea.
No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can't bank on that.
No.
No. So yeah, I would want to know, like, any reasons for not being able to go above and beyond.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hey, I'm Linda Webb. I've been sworn in. I'm at 137 North Parkway Drive, so I'm just north of Chris and Doyle. So that Pacer Drive or whatever will be we will be the only house in the neighborhood that will be facing that street, and it will be disastrous for a construction standpoint. But also, being there when they built Caliber Collision and we face the back of that, the white noise is just ridiculous. There's tons of lighting, even though there's a house in front of it and it's way off at 23. My concern is that we're going to have a parking lot that's going to be adjacent to our property now or later, and there's going to be lights there. So we're going to have the white noise from Caliber Collision, and then we're going to have the white noise from the parking lot to just catty-corner across the street from us. And
I'm sorry, what was your address again?
137.
137.
North Parkway. So we're the only house that faces Parkway, literally. And construction-wise, when Caliber was building, they not only parked in front of our house with some of and they did ruin some of our grass, but they also would park on the outskirts of Parkway Drive out to 23. So with that not being a very wide road for 2 vehicles to pass each other, we had to drive around the construction vehicles every day to get back and forth to work. So we would have to, stop behind them and let someone pass in order to get in and out of our neighborhood. So my concern would be, where are the construction vehicles going to be until they access the actual property? Because Caliber Collision, they were up and down the street, and they were in front of our house sometimes. And so, yeah, I have a concern about that. And then I have a question for the developer himself.
And you can address it to us, and then we'll address it to them, but yeah.
My question to the developer is, this isn't the first request, and knowing what's happening to the neighborhood and the potential dangers to kids with ponds and walking in, and would they want to have that done? If they lived in our neighborhood, would they want their development to impact their residents and their neighbors and their lifestyle? Because he doesn't live there, he lives out in Dublin. So it's one thing to come and go during business hours, but we have to stay there every day, and that's our home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more?
Good evening. Ben Potter. Yes, I've been sworn in. 613 Cardinal Hill Lane, formerly of 270 South Parkway Drive. I'd say despite unanimous approval of barricading South Parkway and North Parkway Drive, I must say I'm probably skeptical that that will happen. The developers mentioned they anticipated almost zero impact to the traffic flow there in the neighborhood. I don't see how that's possible. If we do look at the Route 23 Connect proposals, we have talked about limiting that left turn. That's one of the proposals. I do have copies if anyone would like to see the proposed Route 23 Connect options for Parkway Drive. One option limits it to a right turn in only. Another option is right in, right out, but two options close Parkway entirely. That would leave only the proposed or mythical Pacer Drive as an option, which in meeting with the county engineers, they express incredible doubt that the likelihood of Pacer Drive ever coming to fruition is near zero, which would leave the only traffic flow through the neighborhood. There are 4 or 5 bus stops within that small neighborhood. The number of children is incredible. People like to get out, they like walking, they like to enjoy the neighborhood. I just hope that the trustees, the township, puts the residents of the community first. So thank you for the consideration.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak?
Hello, I'm Lena Skrocka, 250 South Parkway Drive, and I've been sworn in. And I'll read my statement. Thank you for the opportunity to share my opinion about the proposed development. I am speaking as a concerned resident of South Parkway Drive, especially with respect to the safety of our children. Many of our young residents walk and wait on the street for the school bus alone or in small groups each morning and afternoon. Currently, there are no sidewalks that could keep them away from traffic, and there's no street lighting to increase their visibility. There's already concern among parents about the ability of drivers to spot and avoid children in time, especially during the dark and icy mornings in winter months. To my knowledge, kids are out waiting for the bus as early as 6:15 a.m., and I see them on my commute to work. This time of the day is completely dark for most of the school year. I fear that increased traffic and activity will make the situation even more dangerous, with cars and commercial trucks speeding by and inconsistent visibility for drivers. With the addition of business traffic on North and South Parkway Drive, which are roads without the necessary infrastructure as they were not designed for this level of traffic, the situation could worsen considerably, as there will be a higher likelihood of distracted and rushed drivers who are unaware of the presence of children on the road. The addition of a business that will draw increased vehicular traffic will increase the risk of accidents, especially in an area that is not equipped to handle such a volume of various vehicles. There are also concerns about pedestrian safety in general, and increased traffic will pose a significant risk to walkers, children playing outside, and those using the roads for biking or other recreational purposes. I respectfully urge that the township either reconsider the proposed development or at the very least ensure that business-related traffic does not get routed through the neighborhood by implementing significant measures to ensure the neighborhood pedestrians and school children are kept safe, and keep high-traffic zones further away and separate from the residential dwellings. I hope we can arrive at a solution that benefits both the township and its residents without compromising the peaceful, safe environment that makes our neighborhood such a special place to live. And I also hope that we can ensure the safety of our children remains a priority and work together to keep everyone, residents and drivers alike, safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Nope. Okay, I will close public comments. So next we have some questions of the developer. I did want to state that we have placed, this particular property was under our overlay district, and we placed a moratorium on it, so no further applications can be submitted under the overlay district. So the difference is with the overlay district, which was the result of a prior board, I was opposed to it. The difference is they can come in and very quickly pull down a zoning cloud and have everything zoned very quickly with very little input from the trustees or the residents. So this is the very last one of these applications that we'll be hearing. So any of the other properties that come in will not be, they'll be different. They'll be more like an actual rezoning and subject to referendum. So that said, I wanted to clarify that real quick. And with the applicant, and about Pacer Drive, I do think that's more on the county's list now. I do think they're actively working on it. I think last year it wasn't on their radar, but I do have faith that we can put some pressure on them to get that link done. So it's not really it's not a very long road, so there's some issues, but we are working on putting pressure on them. So yeah, would the applicant like to answer any of the questions that were raised?
So, thank you for that. And one thing I need to clarify is, yes, we are in contract with Boja's property. The reason why we are taking that property or buying that property, even though we don't need it, it is one of our developer is going to stay in that house, making sure there is no impact to the neighborhood. That's the first thing. The second thing is,
Yeah, can you repeat that?
He will use it as a buffer zone. He's not
As a
gonna do
buffer
any
zone,
development.
If someone's going to live in the house, did you say?
Yes.
A
Correct.
family member or
Yes.
somebody that's
Yes.
affiliated
So
with
that
the
will
property?
remain a residential property?
Yes, correct.
Oh,
yes.
that's good news.
We have no plans of doing anything there. Just sits there as a buffer zone, as he said. One of our partner are going to live there in that
Okay, and
house.
if you did want to, you would have to come in and follow the rezoning process if you did, so.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Hours of operation, so what would you can probably only
So-
speak to the grocery store.
Sure. Usually, in most of other 7 states, we have 10 to 9 o'clock. That's what our regular store hours are, 10 a.m. to
10 a.m. to 9 p.m.
9 p.m. But some cases, it get extended to 10 o'clock if it is a weekend sometimes. But yeah, it's not a 24-hour grocery store.
And as far as the retail, it just depends on what goes there, right, for the retail building.
Oh, yeah, as we mentioned, we are just still talking about it like a salon or nail shop, very small, something like that. What was?
Are you in talks with potential tenants for
No,
the
we
retail?
haven't.
Not yet?
Not
Okay.
yet.
Yeah, they were doing like a nail salon and stuff like that.
Okay. Mr. Hartman brought up mounding on that west side. Is that something that,
I think that's a great idea. We don't have an issue with that. If you guys want, that would be eliminating the trees that you guys want to keep, because
Well,
we'd have to eliminate all those trees, because if we do it on the backside of that, then that would be into the parking lot. We couldn't do that.
We
could
talked
do the
about
mounding.
eliminating parking spaces on that western portion, so would it be possible to have the sidewalk that's currently planned, the existing trees, and then the mounding?
We could do that, yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely could do that.
so from the road, but the trees are right up against the road.
Correct.
So then would the sidewalk be to the east of those? So it'd be road, existing trees, sidewalk, mounding.
Right, but
You
again,
have
we
it-
have to get what the county's gonna want, because they like a
Correct.
30-degree slopes you can cut on it, so that we have to go with, that's why I said you would more likely need more area to
Right.
make a bigger mound. If not, it's just gonna be it's not gonna
Right.
be what they're
It
thinking.
won't be effective.
It's not effective. That's why I said you're gonna have to clear all those trees out and do that, because the county's gonna want you to have certain areas to cut it, that have grass on it, grow it, and cut it to a safe thing, which usually at 30%.
It's a 3 to,
It's a three,
Yeah.
it's 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a for the mound, how big it is gonna be how wide you can get it. And then that's how high, what the height of that mound would be. So if we're gonna be into our parking lot, we can't go that far. Whatever we can do, we'll get it as high as we possibly can and have a 30% slope, or basically you can get a lawnmower on, and maybe the lawnmower can be active.
But you could come back to us,
Street lawn.
you could come and spend some time designing it.
Yeah,
And
we
then,
would
so
do
we
that.
don't have
We
to
could-
render a decision tonight.
Correct.
We don't have to render a decision tonight,
I
period.
think it's a great idea. I like
So,
that.
well, we would have to put it, are you talking the microphone?
yeah.
Obviously, the higher the mound, the more.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, but like a 5-foot
Okay.
mound.
Well, so technically, we're not allowed, like, we've closed public comment, sorry.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah,
Okay, a
so,
5-foot tall mound would take, like, how much space? Does anyone know? I mean, rise and the run and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have 40 feet.
are we
40 feet.
able to get rid of the sidewalk along that side of the road?
If the trustees approve a development plan without a sidewalk, then yes, that would technically be a divergence from the requirements of the
Okay.
text.
so you need 40 feet. Would there be enough room to put a 5-foot tall mound? Because they're kind of useless, and with some trees on it maybe, because they're kind of useless, anything smaller than that. Or maybe 4
It
foot
looks like you only
maybe.
got 30 feet if you took out the sidewalk and everything, so that's it's gonna
How
be-
tall of a mound is 30 feet? Is it 3 feet?
That's around 3 to 1, so. Yeah, it could be about 3 feet, yeah, it should be around.
So a 3-foot tall mound, and then could you put, now wait, isn't there an easement, the county's asking for an easement, would this be planted? and
It would
this
be
is-
within that, I think the mounding would be
So-
within that easement. Are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed to
Well,
put a
but
mound in
the
an
easement
easement?
might be for the road, so if they're gonna build a road there, I wish we,
Well, hopefully they will
It
not.
could be 4, like
I think
4 and a
they're
half
gonna,
feet.
4.5
if
feet
they
tall.
built the road in the alternate location, that would work. And we don't really know, but yeah, and would you put trees on top, like they were mentioning the Home Depot?
That would be another option, yeah, if you did that, you put the mound and put the trees on top, or, yeah, that could be something that could be, instead of putting the trees over on this side, we put them on top.
And then you don't really need a fence because you have the mound
It would be like 4 foot, it would be a 4.5 foot the mound, and then you would probably
with
put
the
trees on top.
pine trees on
That's-
top, evergreens.
And that would be.
I'm not saying, I'd have to go back. and
Yeah,
look at
I mean,
it.
you guys would need to design this, not just
But
verbally
can we
today.
approve it without the design? Oh, but we can come back later also, okay. But wouldn't you want to specify the height of the trees and things like that?
Yeah.
And then we can also table this to our next trustee meeting and.
Which is
have-
in like just 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, and have, a final decision made.
At that point.
And they could have their plan at that point if it meets, so that is an option.
Okay.
And then would it just be on the west side, right?
Just where that 30-foot easement is shown along the west edge of the property. Okay.
It seems like that would make more sense than putting a sidewalk into a part of the neighborhood that doesn't have any other sidewalk.
No, does that help with the resident?
Okay.
Or is there, maybe we should ask, do you guys
Yeah.
have
Do you-
any other requests or comments on a mound there? Any concerns? Even though we closed public comment, does anyone have a comment on the mound? Because now that we're proposing something different, can I reopen public comment?
Can we just raise your hand if you'd
I was
like?
going to say,
and
if the board does want to reopen public comment on that issue, I would suggest that the public come back up to the microphone,
okay.
so that way their comments can be reflected in the record. They
Okay.
say their names again and confirm they've been sworn in for our
Okay.
All
court.
right, so let's ask the other questions. Do we have any other non-mound questions? I had a couple jotted down here. So there's a question on the fencing around the pond.
So we never talked about it. It's all about county, right? So we did have a discussion what kind of requirements the county has it for the
Okay.
pond.
That's what they're gonna require.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever is required. If it is
Okay.
required, yes, we'll have it. So
Do they have requirements for that? So a lot of the ponds in Delaware County and other places, they have that shelf. It's like but that's more for a real pond. Do they have requirements for, is it retention pond, where it's like a 1-foot shelf? So if someone does fall in, it's just 1 foot deep, and you know what I mean? A lot of the ponds have that requirement, so that if it was full and someone did fall in, they don't just fall down 3 or 4 feet.
I think the engineers also talked about, when I had a discussion with the engineers, civil engineers, they said I cannot have a deeper pond because if somebody falls down,
Right.
there is a way they should get up. So that's how they're designing the pond.
Oh, with the,
Yeah.
probably the
Well, yeah,
shelf, the
yeah.
graduated shelf, because I know
Yeah.
most ponds these days are.
Correct. Because the
designed like
reason
that.
why I asked that question is to save some space. I want a little lesser pond with a deeper,
Oh,
but they did not
said no.
agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a standard that's in place these days, where they
Yes.
have to have the 1 foot, and then it goes down, I think, to like 2
Yes.
feet, and that way, do we want to fence there? Or I guess, no one will really be able to access the pond from,
Right.
if
It's
the mound is
with,
there.
and it's within, I mean, you are still continuing the privacy fence along that part of the property. I mean, I live in a subdivision and there's 3 ponds that are within, my son biking distance from our house, and that's just all residential. And that's just me personally. So I do understand the concern of a new pond. It's different and it's exciting. It can be enticing for the young ones. That it is fairly standard within residential areas to have ponds.
And this is a retention pond, not
Yeah.
a
Yeah, not-
constantly, not a detention pond where you might have more standing water.
Or is it?
Is
which
it
one
detention or is it retention? Detention. So
My
detention
apologies.
has less water?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So detention means it would drain out and not stay wet.
Because it's detaining as much as it possibly can. and
Okay.
it drains
But
slowly off.
sometimes it might have some water in it.
Correct.
Yes.
Usually on a heavier fall rain.
Okay.
falls.
But not like someone's going to stock it with fish and you're going to go
No,
fishing
no.
when you're 14. Okay.
No, we're not stocking it.
Okay. Then the other question was, where would the contractors park? And that was a concern. I was chatting with the residents back when the Caliber collision, they did. I mean, it's like, the contractors first come to site and you're digging up to ready the site for the very initial part of it. They're not able to park there because it's under construction.
So we have a future padded site. That's what our plan is, to keep all the construction vehicles in that
On that
area.
part.
We have 1 acre land there.
Okay.
That's our
Keep them
main
where?
intention.
I'm sorry.
On that northeast corner, that future, that 1 acre almost in that northeast park over there. Okay. And you don't have to answer this now, but so eventually if you do finish that part, then that construction parking would happen within the existing, the new space. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Another question. Michelle, do we know how wide that road is, Parkway? Does anyone?
It's 17 and a half feet.
So technically, there's no parking on either side, right?
Yep.
Are there signs up that say no parking?
No.
Can we have signs installed that say no parking on either side? No.
We can look into that.
You got to get
Unfortunately-
close.
Yeah. If parking is permitted on the street, I'm not sure, if Robin, if you have any insight on that, on.
I think it's under 26 feet, right?
On one side, there's no parking signs, on the other side, it's okay to park. There's-
Yeah, I think.
It
Yeah,
says
so
that
it's just
already.
because of the fire hydrant side.
There's no parking signs on the one side. I actually had one of your township drivers' snowplows take out the parking sign.
Okay, so just for the records, there is parking signs on one side of the street.
No parking
Yeah,
signs.
sorry, you just have to be on the microphone to catch it on the record.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that we want to, I think if it's 70 feet, there would be no parking on both sides. So maybe we can have our maintenance person look into that. So you can't park on both. I'm not sure, but I thought it was 26 feet or above, you can park on both sides. And maybe under, I'm not sure. There's a regulation that sometimes if it's too narrow, you can't park on either side. So we'll just look into that. That would be a township issue, but we can definitely look into that. Let's see, I mentioned the moratorium. So are we, let me see here. Okay, I'll open it back up to public comments to, if anyone has concerns about the mounds, come up
Okay,
and
so, yeah, so
express their
if
concerns or
if you're
comments.
good with the mound, you don't need to tell us. But if you have a concern about the mound,
Or they want to add something.
Or if
to
you want to
it.
add something else.
Does anyone have
Yeah.
any comments about the mound, or is everyone in favor of the mound, or 3 feet tall?
Andrew Jones, 251 South Parkway Drive. Yes, I was sworn in earlier. My concern with the mound would be that 3 or 4 feet is not very substantial. The mound that Doyle brought up over there by the Home Depot, for instance, is massive. That's a mound, right? Not worried about any kids getting up and over that thing, that sort of thing. We're talking about ripping out existing vegetation, possibly putting in a mound, put some trees on top. It's probably going to look like what Caliber's vegetation looks like, which is dead, orange, falling apart, not taken care of, which would be a huge concern. The current existing vegetation that is there is nearly impermeable. I've never tried to go through it, but it's, for all intents and purposes, a wall currently. Now, I know you were concerned about the light going through, and so, having the fence behind that thing adds a tremendous amount. It's not perfect. Maybe you can have a mini mound with a fence on top of that and keep the existing vegetation there, but yeah, have some concerns about ripping out existing vegetation, putting in a tiny mound, and brand new trees that aren't going to be thick. You can just walk right up and over. It's no longer a fence to get into that area.
So there's not room to put the mound in without ripping everything out, is that correct?
that's what we were hearing from the applicant.
No, I think,
Yes.
I think Mike
Okay.
summarized it pretty well. Doyle Hartman, 150 South Parkway Drive, and yes, I was sworn in. Basically, what I was envisioning is all the existing trees are within the right-of-way right now. And so if they keep all those, and then if we eliminate the 5-foot sidewalk and take out some of that parking, there would be room on the east side of the existing trees, no disturbance whatsoever to the existing trees, but then another mound that would go in right there with some more vegetation on top. The existing trees that are there, like Andrew just mentioned, are wonderful, but they tend to lose leaves in the winter. And we don't get as much visual screening when the leaves fall off. And one thing that, again, I would really encourage the developer to look at is, could we not move that building a little bit farther to the east? There's a lot of land sitting out there to the east that's not maybe potentially ever going to be used. I don't understand the need that we would crowd everything to the west up against the existing subdivision. And then maybe just move some things a little farther east, then we'd have a lot more room for a larger mound, more. It'd be wonderful if they could save that 200-year-old oak tree that's sitting back there that we've enjoyed for many years.
Is that the big tree in the middle?
Yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
tree right there. But I mean, I know that developer has his rights to do whatever he wants with his property, but I'm just saying from a wish list, that'd seem like it'd be a wonderful amenity to employees to have something where they could go out underneath a huge oak tree and enjoy lunch, and we could have our mound and have privacy, and the building shift a little bit farther to the east, and everybody would be happy. Maybe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it, so to the developer, is it that 30 feet where the mound would go, that would take out the existing vegetation? You can't have the existing vegetation, take out the sidewalk, and still have a 3-foot mound? You want to come back up to the mic? I mean, if there's not,
Again, just to clarify, the existing vegetation is in the right-of-way. It's not on their property. It's within the
oh,
township
okay,
right-of-way.
within the existing right-of-way, okay.
Between the right-of-way
I gotcha.
line and the edge of pavement. So they really don't
So
own
he
that.
wouldn't have any business taking that
They
down,
wouldn't
is
have
what
any
you're saying,
business taking
gotcha, okay. So beyond that vegetation, could you put in, take the
Most of
sidewalk?
vegetation's gonna probably come out because of the sidewalk.
Oh, into the mic.
Most of the vegetation is probably, a lot of that vegetation is coming out because of the sidewalk
But
that's
it-
already going in
But it's
there.
not on your property, is it?
No, the sidewalk's gonna go over in the right of way.
The sidewalk would be located on the property, not in the right of way.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Just outside the right-of-way.
Yeah, because I don't think we would have you put a sidewalk on property that you don't own.
Right.
Again, so the vegetation's down in the vegetation you're talking about is down in your.
Like a drainage ditch.
Oh,
Yeah.
that, we're not touching anything in the swale. So then, yeah, we're not touching anything we're not touching anything in the swale, correct. I was thinking where the trees he's talking about here, where the trees are. I apologize, I'm not out there on the
Okay.
side.
So you could put a 3 feet, if we get rid of the sidewalk, you could put a 3-foot tall mound with, I would say pine trees on top.
It's gonna be whatever the counties allows us, and that's the problem, is wherever a county allows us to put a mound, and again, it's gonna be their requirements of the 3-to-1 slope and everything.
So basically, I feel like they need to, you guys need to have time to.
Yeah.
We need to
figure
have
that.
time to
But
talk.
the county's not
Figure
going
that
to
out.
allow
I
you.
can't make it until the design, we have to talk with the county.
Oh, you're
the
saying
county
because of drainage issues, you might not be able to put a mound in? Why won't the county allow you?
I think it depends on
The
what
county will allow us
utilities
to
are
put county-
underneath. If there's utilities underneath, you can't, they just need to do
okay,
some,
others-
they just need
so
to
we
do some
aren't sure.
engineering to figure it out.
Okay, so
Correct.
we might end up tabling the final decision, so you can work on that. So can you check with the county and see what they would allow? And
Sure.
then, we would want pine trees typically. I mean, I know, I actually live near the Home Depot wall and mound, which is
Right.
beautiful, but the width of that must be 100 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge.
Because it's like 8 or 10 feet tall, right? Isn't the mound?
Yeah, and it's got to be 100 feet wide,
Yeah.
and there's just not
Yeah,
room.
that's the whole property.
And then, the suggestion to move the building to the east, so you have to be 75 feet off the right, or the 20, off of 23, right? 70 feet building setback. So would you be able to push the building to the east at all?
We have to remember that there's that future building that is not part of this development,
Yeah.
but there
That's
is.
what I'm talking about,
Right,
yeah.
future plans.
Because
So-
are you giving an easement to the county right there in between your building and your future building, that is an easement, right?
That's where the easement's going.
And that's where that potential road, if that road happens.
Yeah, to the east, yeah, I'm aware
So
of
that's
that.
why I don't know how much that impacts that new easement. road.
Yeah.
Correct. So that contradicts the easement, whatever the county is asking for, if we move the building, again, there are setbacks, a lot of stuff is, again, missing.
Correct.
Right.
And is it possible to save any of the mature trees that are in your future parking lot? Like the big oak tree?
I don't know, we haven't looked at it yet. Which one can
Do you
be?
have someone you could check with, if we table this, to see if you could preserve? I haven't been to the site, but it looks like there's at least one big tree or a few nice trees in the area. Could you check on that in the meantime?
We can look at the existing ones and see where they would lay.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
know
see
you-
where it is in relation to where the building
Correct. We
is,
can see the
lit, you
relation to
know,
the building
put down and all that kind
And
of
whether
stuff.
it needs to be graded.
Yeah.
And then Julie, do you have should we discuss the NAICS codes, or?
Can you,
Okay.
Robin, can you give her the microphone?
And I'll close public comment then on the mound. Okay.
So basically, we love trees. We wanted to keep it as many as possible, but yeah, we'll see what can be done there. So.
So we're going to discuss the NAICS codes for retail and the supermarket. And I think there's what's it called, like a root NAICS code that covers everything?
Correct. There's if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
go
This is
ahead,
our
the board.
attorney that's helping us with this. Oh, good, you have copies.
Thank you.
So I had questions of, what is a supermarket? So they say they're going to have a supermarket, and the supermarket is not really defined as to what that means. So we just want to make sure that we nail down the exact uses that will be permitted here, and also for retail. So these are all the codes, and we could limit the codes? The applicant has one, okay.
So I have handed out all of my copies, so I do not have anything in front of me, but just to kind of summarize a bit of discussion points, I've had some comment and feedback on concern about, again, definition of what a supermarket is, what's the definition of a retail use. And it is not uncommon for planning and zoning purposes to reference what is called NAICS, which basically is a standardized definition of a variety of terms. And so one thing that the board could consider if the board decides to approve this application, is including a condition that specifies and provides some clarity as to what a supermarket and what a retail use is. By referencing the NAICS code, if that is of interest to the board.
Okay, so there's, so the supermarket, this is separate, it's it falls within this packet, right? The master packet of retail.
The supermarket,
codes.
it does?
A more detailed code within.
Yeah, it's down.
Subcode, if you will.
Okay. Subcode, that's the word I was looking for. Okay, yeah, so we could include that this is the only permissible use 45110 supermarket. And for the retail, oh my gosh, there's a lot in here. Which ones, are these retail trade? So we could limit, they could pick possibly a few of these. There's a lot here. So there's different uses like automobile dealers, boat dealers. I mean, a lot of these wouldn't be applicable here, but we could list those in our prohibited uses, correct?
Correct.
Gasoline stations, like there's clothing stores, that's probably acceptable. Jewelry stores, shoe stores, meat market, baked goods stores, especially food stores, like those would be the kind of uses that we would expect to see here, not things like, maybe a paint and wallpaper store, stuff like that.
Could the
Electronics.
applicant, if we're tabling this to allow them some additional design time, could they come back, at the next meeting and say which ones
You're planning
they're
on
you're
having,
planning
yeah.
on. Yeah.
So I'm assuming there's a lot in here that you would want, but there's also a lot that you probably, like a florist, that would seem to be a typical retail use, music store, stuff like that. So most of these are probably okay, but there might be a few that are not. So yeah, we can come back. And that way we can narrow it down as to exactly what retail uses they can have there, so there won't be any surprises in the future, so. Okay, are there any more comments or questions?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just so I understand from the board, if we were to, is it continued or to continue this application, it's my understanding that the board is asking for additional landscaping improvements on, particularly on the west side of the property, and also looking at the option of mounding with those central trees installed on top of the mound, and also having clarification on what uses would be permitted on the site. Is there anything else we would ask the applicant to tweak?
That, there's really just that, is really, correct me, guys, is there just really, there's like one giant tree? Are there others, residents? One major one.
Okay, so that's the most important. Is that oak tree?
Yeah, it's about 48 inch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Is it that one there that she's pointing?
Is it that one? Yeah.
Okay,
It-
yeah,
They
if-
just
and-
have to see where it lays out with their site, right? So that's, yeah.
Yeah, can you check in that? So those three areas, is that right, that we're looking at? Is there anything else?
We also wanted to remove reference to the future pad site.
Oh,
Plans.
yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, and some other changes. So
That
we can-
northeast corner, the future pad, we wanted to remove that, remove the acreage from the application, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff, right?
I think Julie's been keeping track of the conditions.
Okay.
So do we want, can we go into, we can go and enter into deliberations for a few minutes?
Sure.
And just, we can, so the board is authorized to enter into private deliberations to discuss this, and then we'll come back out and we'll let you know if we're going to make a motion to approve or deny, or if we're going to continue this to our next trustee meeting. And at that point, we would have all the language. There wouldn't be any more public comment, I don't think, but, or would there be, Julie, at the next hearing, or is it just the decision?
It would be up to the board. I think at this point you've closed public comment, but certainly if there was additional information and you felt that it warranted
Yeah, like a
additional
drastic
comment.
change.
Can we
that's what
decide that
want.
after we do the deliberation?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna, do I have to go into a motion to go into deliberation?
Yeah, there was a paper.
Oh, yeah, that's Oh, thank you. Okay, make a motion to enter into private deliberations to discuss application RCOD-23-03.
Second?
Trustee Knapp?
Yes?
Trustee Ringel?
Yes.
Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Okay, great. We'll be back hopefully soon. I make a motion to return from private deliberations.
Second?
Trustee Nab?
Yes?
Trustee Nuss?
Yes?
Trustee Baker?
Yes.
Okay, so in our private deliberations, we are compiling a list of criteria conditions that our attorney is going to prepare and give to the applicant, and they're going to come back in a couple weeks on December 4th at 5 p.m.
I did talk to the applicant. They will need a little more time, so I would
Okay.
suggest doing the December 18th meeting.
Does that work for you guys, December 18th?
Yes.
Oh, let me check my schedule, okay.
That's the same, the regular.
Okay.
I don't know what time. We will need to have a specific time for that because we'll have to.
Yeah, we discussed 5 o'clock, but let me make sure that date works. And so we'll come back on whatever date that is, and at that point, the applicant, they'll give us their new plan, and we'll review it, and then we'll make any changes, and then we'll make a motion that date. So, yeah, that should work at December 18th is that going to be a big meeting?
Yeah, it could be. It's our last meeting of the year.
Okay, so 5 p.m. on December 18th, does that work for you guys?
Do we want to do a special meeting other than the 18th, considering the amount of material we likely have to consider on the 18th?
I think I think we'll still have it as a special meeting, just. At 3 o'clock.
3.
Do you,
We can
do you believe
stop.
our regular meeting will run longer than 2 hours, is what I'm asking?
But if it does, I think we can pause it, correct?
Yeah, we'll have to pause it.
Yeah, we can pause it.
Right, but then do we want to come back to our regular meeting at 7 o'clock at night?
I don't think this will take more than, shouldn't take half an hour at the most
Okay.
to approve. Don't you think, 15 minutes?
I would hope so.
I will try to do the regular meeting in 2 hours.
Do we need to move the regular meeting up?
I'm okay with 3. I mean, we could just pause it.
Yeah, but
briefly.
let me look at our schedule and I'll bring it up at our next regular meeting if we need to
Yeah, how
change
bad
it.
it is, okay.
Okay, so Julie, were you going to read the, yes?
Yes.
My name's Julie Dunn. I'm an attorney with Burgess Johnson Grace. Our office represents the township. The board has, in private deliberations, discussed a few points that they'd like the applicant to get back at the meeting on December 18th and update your materials. So the first item is that they'd like for you to review the mounting and landscaping on the west side of the northwest side of the development along South Parkway. The mounting, they'd like trees to be on top, preferably staggered pine trees, so that way it would create a barrier. They're comfortable with you removing the sidewalk along South Parkway to again prioritize the mounting and buffering that you just mentioned. They would like for you to take note of the existing trees on the development and determine if any of them can possibly be saved or incorporated into the new development, particularly, I believe there's an old oak tree. The board was wondering if that could be incorporated into a parking island or something like that. They would like for you to review the retail list that's been provided to you, and review if there are any limitations or particular uses that you would be interested in specifically having.
And also, would they provide would they need to exclude certain uses or simply provide the permitted uses?
I guess that's a question for the board, if you have a preference.
Yeah, I'd rather have the permitted and the prohibited, just so we're all on the same page.
That's fine.
Is that right? Okay.
Wonderful. They would like for you to remove any reference to the future pad that's currently shown on the materials. They would like for you to remove the 16 parking spaces along South Parkway on the west side of the development. With respect to the privacy fence, they would like confirmation on the location and detail of the privacy fence. I believe the materials currently show a wrought iron fence or similar, and the board does not believe that that's truly a privacy fence because it's see-through. They'd like for you to verify the square footage of the retail building. I think there was, Trustee Faust mentioned that there was a discrepancy between 13,000 and like for you to confirm the dimensions on, I believe it's C1.2. Apparently the drive was updated from 24 feet to 30 feet, so they want that to be confirmed and consistent in the documents. They'd like for you to confirm that the lighting plan matches the landscaping plan. And finally, to provide confirmation referenced in Mr. Duffy's staff report that the lighting plan does not extend 30 feet onto any neighboring properties. Board?
I think that's it.
The only other one on Robin's report is the copy of the letter from the county engineer's office stating the proposed access and site distance is adequate. Sorry, I just remembered that.
Is that the only other one that's missing?
Yeah, everything else was covered, yeah.
I would ask if the applicant has any questions about the list or if there's anything else that we might need in order to update the materials in preparation for December 18th.
You want to come back to the mic? Sorry.
Just want the letter on the pad, just want that removed, just to say that it's a future pad is to be off the drawings, is what he said. Or just
Is that
want
the only
future
reference
pads
to it?
The lettering is just off. Oh, okay, okay.
Right, that's the only reference to future pad on the drawing.
So basically, we understand that there was a little bit of confusion on my end earlier. So when the assumption is you'll put a building on that portion of the site, you'll just come back and go through the application process again?
Correct.
Yeah.
And about the codes, right? So you wanted to have a list of excluding or including?
Both.
Both,
Codes?
please. Both.
Both.
For the
Which we wanted to
retail.
exclude.
Right, list what you want to exclude, and then what you'll include.
The reason I'm asking is a wider list. It says miscellaneous.
Oh.
It's a little.
Right, that's tricky,
Contradiction.
yes.
So if, let's say, for example, the liquor store, we wanted to exclude it right away.
Right.
So we can present those, what we don't want to be there, we can put that.
Yeah, what you want to do, and probably exclude miscellaneous
Yes.
then, because that could encompass anything.
Sure. Thank you.
That's a good question. And then when do we need the materials?
I suggested the Friday before, that's the 13th.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and try to exclude as many uses as you can that you think are inappropriate, and so
We really don't have all, yeah.
Okay.
He's already had,
No liquor stores, okay.
Was already picking things out already, so.
Did you say the maximum number of?
Yes.
For the retail building, the maximum and minimum number of tenants that building will have?
We can do that.
I think we would like at least a minimum of 2, so it's not just one big building, but.
And we can email you the list.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that everything? Did we miss anything?
That was everything, right? That was everything on your list?
Is that everything? Okay, I have so many things. Okay, so we'll just continue this hearing to December 18th at 5 PM? Take a motion, yeah, okay. Okay, so is that on here, or?
No, I
Okay,
think
that's fine. I make a motion to continue. What's the application?
It's
23-03.
All right, I make a motion to continue zoning RCOD 23-03, 79 Parkway Plaza to Wednesday, December 18th at 5 PM at Township Hall.
Second?
Trustee Knapp?
Yes?
Trustee Ringel?
Yes.
And Trustee Faust?
Yes.
Great. So you're all welcome to attend that meeting if you want. So what we'll do is we'll review briefly the new plan, and then we'll make a motion. Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you for your assistance.
Do you need to make a motion to adjourn?
Let's make a motion, or do we adjourn?
Just announce it, they adjourn it, yeah.
Do we just say, okay, meeting's